everyone. It's an absolute honor to be here with you all today. I wanted to take this opportunity first to extend a massive thank you to the entire team at the Book Fest Adventure for having me be a part of their Fall 2025 Fest. As a three-time award winner in this wild world of speculative fiction, there are a few things I love more than a gathering. There are few things I love more than a gathering of true book lovers, and the Book Fest Adventure is without a doubt among those things. It is absolutely one of the best book fests out there. If you don't know me, I'm Daniel Bautz, and I'm known for building stories that get under your skin, that linger. Today, I hope what I share lingers, but I'm not here to read you a story. I'm here to share the blueprints. We're going to talk about the craft of fear. We've bought into the idea that dread, fear, comes from the monster in the closet, the nasty under the bed, the killer behind the curtain, the jump scare. You have been lied to. That's not suspense. It's a shock, an electrical charge for your nervous system. It's cheap and it is fleeting. True dread, the kind that follows you home, isn't the monster. It's the long, quiet sentence describing the dust motes dancing in a sliver of light. It's in the short sentence that follows the sudden stop. For the next half hour or so, we won't talk about monsters. We will talk about another creature altogether, a great beast that we all tremble before as writers, grammar. I'm going to give you the blueprint for engineering fear at the sentence level. Does anything look amiss in this picture? Because your reader's brain is a prediction engine. It craves patterns to make sense of the world. It sees a dry room. It expects everything inside that room to be dry. When nothing but silence is around you, your brain expects the silence to continue. Patterns are the only thing that will quench the thirsty mind. Dread is not the monster. Dread is the glitch. It's the error message in the code of reality. Have you ever come home and known instantly something's wrong? Not because something is there, but because something's off. Your chair is sitting at a slightly different angle. For some reason, the front door is unlocked, though you'd swear you locked it. That feeling right there, that is low-grade cognitive dissonance. Your brain has a locked-in, perfect pattern of your home, and if one detail is out of place, it can't resolve the conflict it experiences. And that inability to resolve that conflict creates anxiety. This is the engine of dread. Our job as architects of dread is not to create monsters, but to create a single, undeniable glitch that our reader's brain cannot resolve. As an example, in my novelette, The Haunting of McMurtry Manor, the paranormal investigator, Brannigan Rafferty, arrives at a supposedly derelict haunted house. The reader's brain, and even Rafferty's, already has a clear pattern for this: decay, rust, dust, ruin. But that's not what he finds. The glitch isn't a ghost, it's the shine. It's the high polish on the marble floors. The house should be in disrepair, but it's immaculate. This pristine interior is profoundly wrong. It breaks the pattern and forces a reader to ask a much more terrifying question than, is there a ghost? Because something is already off. They have to ask, what is inside this house keeping it so clean? The answer is far more dreadful than a simple spirit. The glitch doesn't have to be visual either. It can be behavioral. In Aristotle James and the Waking Wild, young Ari is on a camping trip in Michigan. He's in the wild, so the pattern we expect is for nature to be indifferent. But the animals start acting with a strange and malevolent intelligence. Fish don't intentionally ram a boat. It's a glitch in the pattern of animal behavior. This escalates within the story with the elk, snakes, and a bear, all acting with coordinated unnatural aggression. This causes a cognitive dissonance. The dread that it creates doesn't come from the animals themselves, but from the chilling realization that they are no longer displaying what could be considered normal animal behavior. There has to be some unseen intelligence directing them. And that's the glitch that the reader can't solve. Alfred Hitchcock was the master of suspense, and he explained suspense this way. He used the analogy of a bomb under a table. If the audience doesn't know about the bomb and it goes off, boom, it's a surprise. But if the audience knows the bomb is there, ticking down, and the characters don't, then we have suspense. Why? Because Hitchcock created a gap in information. The audience knows more than the characters, and this knowledge, for us, the viewer, is a terrible burden. We are trapped, we are in our own imagination, and within there becomes that engine of anxiety, that cognitive dissonance, unresolved, creates anxiety. So, as a writer, you have all the information, total information. The character has partial information, and the reader has only the information you choose to give them. And so suspense lives in that gap. In that manner, your prose is a keyhole. The more you withhold, the more the reader will lean in. And Aristotle James and the Phantom Funeral Coach, our intrepid friend Aristotle, investigates the town matriarch, Adelaide Lucas. He, and therefore the reader, have just discovered she's a powerful witch. But when he confronts her with the sheriff along with him, he must act as if he doesn't know. He controls the information. The tension in the scene doesn't come from Adelaide being a witch. It comes from the information gap. We, the readers, know that Adelaide is a witch and that this cat that they're arguing over is her magical familiar. But the sheriff in the room, however, he just sees a dispute over a beloved pet. We know the stakes are life and death in this situation, but the sheriff just thinks this is just another petty squabble. And you see that gap right there where we are screaming internally for the sheriff to understand the real danger creates an almost unbearable suspense. We are looking through the keyhole with more knowledge, seeing more truth, while the character of the sheriff beside us has none of that. And so the dread is in what that sheriff doesn't know. So now we move on from theory to application, from the why to the how. We're going to start with the first and a very powerful tool, and that tool is rhythmic control. And this is more than just varying sentence lengths. An architect of dread must also consider the weight and sound of the words themselves, their sonic texture. Amateurs write sentences, architects compose them. So we're going to start with the first component of this, and that's the break. It's a long, meandering sentence used to build atmosphere and lull the reader into a false sense of security. The prose itself becomes a form of comfort. The best examples of this create a sense of timelessness or peace right before that peace is shattered. So this next excerpt is from a short story I wrote called Burgundy and Wine. The rhythm there is slow, quiet, and melancholic. The sentences are long, forcing the reader to slow their pace. Words like amber, navy, pale, crawled. They have a soft sonic texture. It's prose designed to be read slowly, to make the reader feel the weight of time and the quiet of the scene. You are creating a state of calm. You are putting the reader to sleep. But that architecture, but the architect's job is to shatter that security. So that comes to the next component of the rhythmic control, the accelerator. This is panic. This is action. And for this, the prose must be stripped to the bone. Look at the final confrontation with the bear from The Waking Wild with Aristotle. The sentences are short, declarative, and stripped of all poetry. Row, I rode. The prose mimics the character's singular, panicked focus. It's percussive, a heartbeat. There is no time for beautiful language when a bear is chasing you. The amateur tells the reader The character is panicking. The architect makes the reader's heart beat faster by controlling the rhythm of the words on the page. You are not describing panic, you are creating it. Our next tool in our tool bag is about shattering the reader's sense of stability. The narrative voice is a window into the story. The architect knows how to crack that window. So, first, we're going to look at the fractured voice. We're going to use that to speak directly to the reader. And what this does is it makes them a co conspirator in our story. The narrator breaks the fourth wall, destroying the safe distance the reader feels from the events that are happening on the page. The next example I have is again Brannigan Rafferty in McMurtry Manor. You see the move, right? The narrator stops the story, speaks directly to the audience. He flatters them, my brave readers. He implicates them, and then he even warns them. The reader is no longer a safe observer, they have become an accomplice. This cracks the lens. Another way that we crack the lens is the shattered thought, the fragment. This gives you an unfiltered glimpse into a character's mind, and it also pushes the pace faster. This next excerpt is from my thriller, Burn Out the Day, and this is a prime example of the shattered thought. Coffee, then murder. 3 words. It's a to-do list. It's the mundane paired with the horrific. This fragment is even more chilling than a chapter of description because it shows you a cold, professional, psychopathic mind. It tells you everything that you need to know about this character and his priorities. It is efficient, it is brutal, and it is the truth of the character, unadorned by prose. Just like the character, it's brutal. This brings us to our next and another potent tool in our main tool bag. Dread is not born from the monster. I think I've said that a lot, and it's not. It is born from the detail that is profoundly and specifically wrong. So the amateur is going to show you the bloody axe, but the architect is forcing you to focus on something much, much worse. A detail that will lodge in your brain like a splinter. Like in McMurtry Manor again, the investigator discovers a dark secret about the house's foundation. The horror isn't just that the house is built on a graveyard. The horror is in the specific quantifiable number 186. That number makes the desecration real, not a vague concept. It is now a ledger of the dead. It's an architectural detail on a monstrous house that is also an atrocity. But the most powerful details are the ones that are tactile, the ones that the reader can almost feel. The next example I'm going to share is from Aristotle James and the Waking Wild. Our hero Aristotle has killed a bear that attacked his father. Moist and greased in the vitreous of the bear's eye. I want you to read that again. The dead bear isn't the horror, although they are scary. It's not even an axe jutting from the eye socket. The true unforgettable moment of horror is in that final clause. You've just been forced into a specific tactile sensation. You can almost feel it, the slippery, disgusting vitreous. It's specific, it's a detail your brain can't easily dismiss. The horror is no longer on the page, it is in your hand. And you cannot unfeel that. That is the unsettling detail. So now for another important tool. This one is a little more global. This is one of the most effective ways to create deep psychological dread, which is taking the expectations that are there and subverting them. It's the art of taking a familiar situation or a comfortable trope or a safe space and twisting it and perverting it until it feels wrong and it feels dangerous. The most common way to do this is to take a place that should be safe and revealing it as the source of a threat. Like we saw in McMurtry Manor, the expectation is a haunted house will be decrepit, just just in ruin. The subversion we used there was that it's immaculate. So the cleanliness of that manor abandoned is what makes it so creepy. Another way to subvert is subverting the character trope. In my novel, Life is in the Blood, we are introduced to Silas, a charismatic preacher. The archetype of a charismatic rural preacher is a familiar one. We expect passion, probably some hypocrisy, but Silas here subverts that trope entirely. The character in the book isn't just a flawed man of God, he is a literal monster, a vampire using the language of salvation to create a vampiric cult. He takes the most sacred elements of faith, communion, healing, and eternal life and twist them into a horrifying parody. The dread comes from seeing the holy become the profane. The final subversion is subverting the genre itself. A reader picks up a paranormal thriller and they have a set of expectation. And as an architect of dread, you should know what those expectations are. In Burnout the Day, a young woman is investigating a famously haunted farmhouse in this next example. The reader expects a ghost story. The victim expects a ghost. But the threat isn't paranormal, it's a human killer, a corporate cleaner named Pat. The supernatural here is what we call a red herring. By subverting the genre's central premise, you create a different kind of dread. The horror isn't that ghosts are real. The horror is that while you were looking for a ghost, a very real man with a knife snuck up behind you and stuck a knife in your jugular. The supernatural danger was a distraction from the human evil, which is almost always far worse than anything supernatural. So, what we're going to do here is we're going to do a build. We're going to put this theory into practice. So, you've seen the tools that I've used in my work. Now, let's build this moment of dread from nothing. Here is our base sentence. It's the most boring sentence in the world. A man sat on a bench. Great. Let's add some information control to this and get inside the head and start creating that mystery. He sat on the park bench trying not to look at the swings. Better, we're starting to get a story here. So now let's grab one of those unsettling details. Let's add a glitch to that sensory pattern. He sat on the park bench trying not to look at the swings. The air smelled of rain and cut grass and copper, like an old penny. So there's our glitch, or there's our glitch. The smell. We know that's wrong. Now let's do the final touch. We're going to compose it using rhythmic control. The stiff park bench chilled him. He tried not to look at the swings, but a slight breeze put them in motion, a slow, sad rhythm. The scent of rain and fresh cut grass filled the air, clean, but something else underneath it lingered, an odor like an old penny. He looked at his hands, clean. His eyes went back to the swings, still, not moving at all, maybe never were. Below the swings, a 9C shoe in the wood chips. Just one. That is architecture. What we did in the last 90 seconds is the foundation of everything I build. The tools we discussed tonight, controlling rhythm, fracturing the narrative, voice, finding the perfect unsettling detail, and subverting expectations are the load-bearing walls of every story I write, from gothic horror to modern thrillers to young adult adventures. I've compiled all of these tools and more into a detailed PDF blueprint. And on the last slide of this presentation, you can scan the QR code there and you can download the PDF for free. Inside, you'll get the instructions. So you can download a free copy of The Haunting of McMurtry Manor so you can see the architecture in a finished structure. I'd like to say I don't write for everybody, but I do build stories for a tribe of intelligent, genre-free readers who just appreciate a good story. So if you value the craft, you can scan the code at the end and get your own blueprint for future reference. One last thing. I promised you a new awareness. So be still for a moment. Listen. The room is quiet and the screen is dark. There is nothing to see, nothing but the faint hum of electricity, the soft sigh of the air vents, the distant, muffled sound of a world that feels a million miles away. And beneath it all, if you are very still, you can hear it. The slow, steady, wet rhythm of your own breathing, of your own heart, pumping blood through the dark. I want to thank you for your time, and I want to thank the Bookfest Adventure for having me on here today. I hope you've enjoyed this presentation of the architecture of dread. All the best.